Gaming is just like any other sport. It may not be as physically similar to basketball as football or soccer are, but they share common features when it comes down to the basic foundation of what a professional sport is. Gaming is a sport just like any other traditional sport. Now, you may not care about what I have to say if you don't have any interest in gaming or sports. However, you may start caring when you hear that gaming, otherwise known as esports, may soon become the world's leading sport. I'm a credible person to be talking about this because I'm a gamer and an athlete. I've also followed the debate over whether gaming should be considered a sport or not when it first started. I will go over the similarities of esports and traditional sports and why esports should be considered an official sport. First, let's talk about how esports is similar to traditional sports. When people hear of sports, they generally think of a physical activity that involves an individual or team of skillful players who compete with each other. When you look at gaming at first glance, it doesn't really seem to fit that description of a sport. People who game usually sit down, looking at a screen and playing with some sort of controller, handheld device, or with a mouse and keyboard for hours on end. A majority of people would believe that this is nothing close to being a sport, as it lacks a crucial element to what defines a sport: physical activity. It is true that esports is not as physically demanding as traditional sports are. However, there are sports that require little to no physical stress, and a good example would be poker. Poker doesn't meet with the criteria of a traditional sport. As the game theorists had said, poker is different from a traditional sport, as it is not a team-based competition, does not require precision, and does not require athletes to be in peak physical form. Yet for some reason, poker is classified as an official sport and is even aired on the American cable network ESPN. Esports is similar to sports such as basketball or football, as it does involve physical activity, skill and precision, and it can be played competitively, individually, or with a team. A gamer who plays with either a controller or a mouse and keyboard are in fact performing a physical activity. Like me, for example, whenever I'm playing games on the computer, I have to be able to press every key quickly and precisely if I want to be able to beat my opponents. But having to constantly play on a keyboard and mouse for hours on end becomes draining, both physically and mentally. My hands begin to cramp, and I begin to feel mentally exhausted, having to think of what I'm going to do next if I want to win. It can even become mentally exhausting having to communicate with your teammates, as professional streamer Michael "I'm a Cutie Pie" Santana has often implied during his gaming live streams. Gamers also perform skillful and precise actions on their controls through hand-eye coordination and muscle memory, which is earned through constant practice. Similarly, a basketball player who is able to dribble a ball through their leg is only able to do that because they practiced it over and over and mastered the hand-eye coordination as well as gained the muscle memory for it. Esport athletes risk physical injuries just like traditional sport athletes do through all their constant practicing and competitive play. For example, esport athlete Hi Lamb professionally played a game called League of Legends where through long hours of practice on his keyboard, developed carpal tunnel and risked ending his career. There are also professional competitions that are well organized, such as the League of Legends 2018 World Championship, where teams of up to 5 players from all over the world compete against each other in brackets for prize money and recognition as the best team in the world. This is again similar to professional basketball, where there are 5 players per team on a court and they compete against each other in brackets for fame and fortune. I will now move on to why esports should be considered a sport. I have gone over the similarities between the skill and organizations of esports and traditional sports. Now comes the question as to why it should be considered a sport. Definitions of words change all the time and reflect the current view of the world and the people who define those words. In the book Everything's an Argument, it is said that in 1996, the Defense of Marriage Act was passed, which defined marriage as a legal union between one man and one woman as husband and wife. But now marriage is not just a legal union between one man and one woman. It is just a union between people regardless of their gender. This is no different from when it comes to defining what a sport really is. Gaming is no less a sport than basketball, football, or soccer is. It requires skill, practice, physical, and mental strains, and it involves individual or team competitions. In fact, the large similarities that esports has with traditional sport have led the Olympic Council of Asia to announce that esports will become an official medal sport at the 2022 Asian Games. This is a huge monument for the face of esports. It shows that esports is getting recognition as a serious and legitimate sport, and that's all due to people, whether they are casual or competitive gamers, standing up and supporting their passion in gaming. What can we do to help support esports, you may ask? Well, the answer is sort of simple really. In 2013, the NBA Finals was aired on ABC, which brought in about 26.3 million viewers. That same year, the League of Legends World Finals was being aired on the streaming website Twitch.tv, which brought in 32 million viewers. Already, esports has been bringing in more viewers than traditional sports since the beginning. All we have to do is to get people involved with gaming and keep on sharing the news about esports. Eventually, we will have such overwhelming number of people who play games and support esports that a majority of the world viewing audience will be calling gaming a sport. Then one day, esports will get the respect it deserves and finally be considered an official sport.